Well, she says she has spent 5 months not going at work because she is tormented. I mean, this is the moment when you feel you need to listen from her before you criticize anyone out there.
Every office that I went to, the reason why it never went into the media is I hand delivered whatever communication I wrote. I would go to the registry, get a received stamp, move with my document and give to the recipients. So up to this point, I've been in this for 10 months, and until I chose to come out and shared whatever I did, no one had anything on me.
Sure.
So it's good that you've mentioned the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Like I said, I first went to the Solicitor General on 20th September after that meeting in which I was ridiculed. And that very evening, I then forwarded him an email where I was sending the initial email I had sent to my boss and all the other responses. That was on 20th September at 8:48 p.m. The next day at 8:51 a.m. in the morning, he responded to me and suggested that perhaps we can use a peaceful mechanism in resolving the matter. I then responded to him on 22nd September telling him that would not be possible because this gentleman had apologized to me and had since taken a different turn of events. Mm-hmm. And as such, I said I was invoking the law in which our conversation of 20th, which was 2 days before, was the verbal conversation we had on 20th September was my verbal complaint as provided by Regulation 10.4 of the Employment Sexual Harassment Regulations. I also invoked Regulation 10 to the extent that I asked for a sexual harassment committee to be set up to investigate. Asha, this is a committee that is established by law, the Sexual Harassment Regulations of 2012, that says that any employer that has more than 25 employees shall have a sexual harassment committee. This is a ministry that is the one that drafts these laws. It's in charge of the rule of law. They knew these things. We didn't have a sexual harassment committee. So I invoked the regulation and asked for it to be set up. And I start a very tedious journey to follow up on the constitution of this committee. And this is how it went. On the 5th of October, remember on the 20th, I asked for the committee. I didn't receive it. On the 22nd, I responded saying our verbal conversation was then a verbal complaint. On the 5th of October, I then emailed the Honorable Attorney General to tell him my side of the story, because a week before, the Deputy Solicitor General had gone to him and told him his side of the story. My expectation had been he would call me to ask for my side. He never. 3 days passed until a week later, and I said it is not fair for him to have had one side and not hear me out.
Exactly.
I then sat down and wrote him an email saying, I am aware my boss has come to you and spoken to you. I had expected that you would give me an opportunity to give my side. Be that as it may, here is it. I concluded that email, Asha, by saying that I have gotten an epiphany. Perhaps this is the sole reason I went to law school. I will seek justice to the end. Okay. What I find frustrating is that even after I committed, from that point, that I was willing to go to great lengths to be heard, they refused to set up the committee. Asha, I then even sent them an email. I remember very well, it was on the 22nd of April. It was an article of the Chief Justice of India. He is also facing sexual harassment allegations. And I sent an article. I emailed it to the Honorable Attorney General, the Deputy, and the Solicitor General. It was chronicling a skyrocketing event which the judiciary of India failed to handle, and it escalated to a point that they could no longer control. In sharing that article, I had hoped that once they read, they could see the extent to which this could skyrocket. It was my way of saying, guys, hear me out. They still did not. They still did not. To take you back, on the 28th of November, I had also still emailed all of them, the principals, the Honorable Deputy Attorney General, the Deputy, and the Solicitor General, following up on my previous communications and asking where we had reached with the setup of the committee. I didn't receive a response. Asha, to date, I've written to the ministry almost 9 communications. As God is my witness, they've never responded to a single one. Not once. On the 28th of March, I then sat down to write an email, to write a letter, which I addressed to the Solicitor General asking him about the Sexual Harassment Committee. And that was after, like you had said, about the Honorable Prime Minister. I set out to find the telephone contact of the Right Honorable Prime Minister. After I had engaged a lawyer who wrote to the ministry asking for the committee to be set up. They still did not set it up, neither did they respond to my lawyer. My lawyer then set up to then write to the IGG and ask one for protection for myself, for the victimization that I had been suffering and was continuing to suffer, and also to bring to her attention my plight. She too did not respond. I then set out to have people engage to try and find out what was happening to my complaint there. And I was made aware she was aware of it and had actually, on receipt, called the Solicitor General to discuss it. And the Solicitor General had told her he had set up the committee. And I'm like, what do you mean he has set up the committee? I wrote, I've never been told it's there. And I was told it had been investigating. So I asked around and I'm told it is there. But you imagine, I'm a complainant. I'm the one who is trying to find out. Who is trying to find out of its existence. So when the IGG also did not assist me, I then set up to get the Honorable Prime Minister's number, which I got on a Sunday. It was 3rd March. And I then apologized for breaking protocol. This is like blasphemy in public service. There is absolutely no way you can actually approach. But I can assure you, by the time I sought him out, I was purposeful. He responded to me very quickly and said, can I meet you on Wednesday, which was 6th March? So I wrote a letter chronicling what I had been going through and went with it. Took it to his secretary, who received it, and he met me on that very day. He was in too much, you know, when someone is surprised by what you're discussing. I had been there, was supposed to have met at 4, but he was so busy, he had so many people. I was meeting them 5-10 minutes. So I met him like an hour and 40 minutes after our scheduled time, which is not really extraordinary. But Asha, he listened to me. He was receiving calls. He then switched off his phone and gave me 40 minutes listening to me and committed he was going to resolve the issue. I left. It was the first time since I had complained that someone had listened to. It was the first time that someone indicated that they cared. And I left, you know, of even the people that I told, for me, all my burdens had ended the day I met the Right Honorable Prime Minister, because he looked me in the face and committed to resolve this issue. But Asha, to date, nothing has been done. When you say that this is 2 weeks since this story broke, I can actually tell you that government has not engaged us. I've not received any call from any government organ, be it the Ministry of Gender, be it the Ministry of Ethics, be it the public service. But I'm out there being demonized. You know, I'm a government employee. I went through law school, through hardship, unimaginable hardship, in the hope that the day I'll become a lawyer, I'll be able to liberate myself and who? My mother who? But anyway, so here I am after meeting him, and I didn't get any assistance. I waited a few weeks and then engaged the UN. Actually, I was able to.
In fact, a week now. It's
2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. Today is 18th, as in
it's 21st.
It's 20. Yeah, it's because my story broke, I think, 6th. Yeah, it's 2 weeks. They've not engaged. They've not. So after the Right Honorable Prime Minister, I then engaged. I looked for the contacts of people in the UN in New York, and I approached them with my matter. I also approached the World Bank, and fortunate enough, the UN engaged the Uganda country office, and I was able to meet with the UN country representative and the head of UN Women, Maxime, and another gentleman for the UN Human Rights. So we had a meeting in which I shared what I had been going through, and they committed to engage government. I have since had people ask me why it is that I would approach the World Bank, But I mean, the World Bank has an ombudsman. This is like the role of the IGG, in which they try to enforce and ensure that the countries where they have, invested money are following the rule of law, that you're not using child soldiers, that you're not having, child wives, that indeed this money is building an economy that follows rules and structures and such. They have reporting mechanisms for which you can be able to do what? To seek redress. But the question is, why would I have to be reduced to seeking international help?
Exactly.
Why? If I had been heard on the onset.
This is why we are here, so that the public can know. People are out there saying ill things. Think, why would she do this? Why would she engage the other? Why would she engage? But look, this is the story.
So anyway, since the system failed me, I had to stand up and do what? And try to fend for myself. So I don't know to what extent the UN's engagement with government has gone, but like as I said, this is now coming to 10 months since my initial complaint. I've not received any redress. Other people have condemned me that this came out at a time when the shortlist for the Court of Appeal judges is out and his enemies are using me. But I ask you, in June when I first told him to let me be, these seats in the Court of Appeal had not been advertised or vacated. Government had not yet decided to fill them. Or even on the 20th of September, when I then formally complained to the Ministry of Justice, this list was not out. This is diversionary, and I will stick to my script. That man sexually harassed me for decades. He knows it. He knows it. He has frustrated the system from even hearing me out. I hear people keep saying that it is only me who has spoken out since that the rules of natural justice require that both parties be heard. I haven't muzzled him. To the contrary, he has muzzled me. From the point that you cannot imagine, after the committee was set, Asha, a week later, the Solicitor General was not around, and that guy assumed the office of the Solicitor General, and he is foreseeing a committee that is investigating him. I told you I've not been working for 5 months. There was a time I went to the office. I did meet him in the corridors. All high and mighty, he was there, swollen, and I was overcome by so much anger. I wanted to I was wearing a high-heeled shoe, to sit on him and pelt him. When you reach this explosive point, it is when I said, Samantha, you've got to take a step aside. You've got to step aside. You are then going to become, violent, and you will be dismissed. It's an offense. You cannot fight at the office. But that you imagine from a person who has told you the difference within the public service. I can't speak back to my boss. I refer to him as sir. But I've gotten to a point where I want to pelt him with blows. The Honorable Deputy Attorney General tried to mediate and asked for a meeting. He wanted us to be in the meeting where he would speak to him. I told him I cannot face this man. I even told it to him in Runyankole. I said, that is how annoyed I was. And he realized that there was no possibility that we would be in the same room while he sat across me, and was able to engage him separately. So the question is, why would I have, that man has put me through a lot. You can even see, he has frustrated the system from hearing me out. So when I hear people say, why isn't he being heard? Why is he being extended a courtesy he could not extend me? That he's chosen to keep quiet is not any of my problems. Or that I am speaking out does not really mean that, So anyway, I've been through a lot. And as God is my witness, like I told the Honorable Attorney General, I'm going to seek justice to the death. They will not muzzle me, I'll be heard. And I want to tell viewers that as women, we know what we are going through. I appeal to anyone who has a similar Asha. I have had people, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, people on the street thanking me, both men and women. for standing up for their daughters. They've told me immeasurable things that, some have even shared with me experiences with the same person. Others, I've received calls of people wanting to come out, and they're saying, you've encouraged me. I am looking at you today, and I appeal to you. Do not look at my strength and think that you can be able to weather this storm. I've gone through immeasurable suffering. So let us stand up as women, set up structures to fight for ourselves, and tell this government enough is enough. They've paid enough lip service to the fact that they are looking after women's rights. We know for a fact we are on our own.
Exactly, they are not.
There are organizations I see here like banks which are recruiting girls through these service companies. They give you a year contract. That thing is purposely intended to discriminate against a woman. I have a friend who, when she conceived, did not get her contract renewed. So they give these girls 1 year contracts so that at the point at which you have conceived, if you are they just don't renew. The question is, why would you put someone whose maternal role in this world is to bring life into such immeasurable suffering?
And ignore.
We go through a lot. So I want to tell viewers that this is the start. I've got your back. If you've had an experience like mine, please do not face your tormentor. Let us calm down, strategize. I'll share with you my email in which you can write to me private experiences, and I'll help you through this. It may not be for purposes of coming out, but for counseling. Let me tell you something, Asha. If I had, on the onset, everyone knows me as strong. I kept telling my friends, I'm fine, till I broke down and told a friend of mine, Rosemary, whenever you hear me say I'm fine, I'm not. It's a typical response. Asha, I went into a depression. I would spend 4 days on end in bed without even being able to make myself a cup of tea. I have immeasurable strength. That guy has tested it. So I have nothing left but strength and the knowledge that I am facing my truth.
Well, now, what are some of those hopeful measures you're seeing? Recent we had a presser with the journalists addressing this issue, and we opted that the government was going to come out, or the people would caution the government, because it's not a matter of only her, but when she comes out with the presser and puts it out, like you said, there are a number of females facing this exact challenge. So when she came out, and we expected all females together would come out, because we are all facing this.
Yeah, and people need to know, like you said at the introduction, this is within employment. Have you ever asked yourself, for instance, why a bank manager should not have a relationship with a CFO?
Mm-hmm.
If he has that kind of influence, or would you want your surgeon, a doctor, if he was having a relationship with the nursing surgeon? Mm-hmm. You imagine if they had a fight, and they are in the operating room and you're the one who is on the table, their emotions would be lost on you. Your life is in danger. The issue is they are criminalizing these kinds of things in the office. For people who are saying I've been in a consensual relationship and it has gone back, if that had even been the case, he should still not be in office. This is power play. It acknowledges he has power over me. You get it? And as such, even if on the onset I had agreed to and had gotten this benefit, when I change my mind or whatever the case may be, it then still hinges on the fact that he is committing an offense by engaging in a relationship with someone who is subordinate, whom he has influence over. It even negates any consent had it been there. So let's stand up to this vice and fight for ourselves. Like I said, no one else is going to do so.
Do you have like a period of time that was given to you by the UN and they told you, Samantha, we are going to get back to you in this time? And
this is diplomacy. Like I said, with the UN, my intention had been for them to know the lengths at which I can go to seek justice. But I think it's really overtaken by events. They really know. And the reception that I received, they are doing their part. I believe they are doing their part, but you can imagine if even the influence of international bodies has not fazed them, then you can see the impunity. They still intend to leave us voiceless, but I assure you, this voice is not going back. This was my war cry to the battleground. I am not going back. It is for me that I stand up, and for any other woman. We've had enough.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Samantha. Well, all said, actually not all said. We still had a lot to say, and we shall share. I mean, let's not stop it at here, and we can come together. Today on Her Moment, we decided to come up close with her so that we can get to know the gist of the whole story. And as females, this is a female platform. If we get the gist of the whole story, then we get behind her back. We fight with her. We fight for the next generation. We fight for our kids, our grandkids. And trust me, we will win at the end of the day. Thank you so much for watching.